What's going on, party people? I'm here, and I wanted to share one of my recent projects with you. You've probably seen me talk about it on my YouTube before, but I have a MIDI plugin that I created for Blender that basically takes MIDI files, imports them, and generates animations for you. So you get neat little piano animations automatically and stuff. But I decided to make like a documentation website because I was like, there's plenty of good documentation on the README, and I had like plenty of tips and tricks and stuff like that. But as I've been using the plugin like more, and I've been just getting more into like advanced techniques and stuff, I've been learning different things that I've been wanting to share, and it's kind of like more than a GitHub README kind of like would allow me to kind of share. I mean, I could put it, but it's is a lot for like scrolling in one place. So I was like, why not create some documentation? And why not create a really cool landing page to advertise the plugin and the kind of features? So that's kind of what I put together here. You can see that this is the new MIDI motion landing page. I also had to create some branding because you just need some branding. Landing page, animations, bam, you kind of get the concept. This is a 3JS 3D piano that I basically took the piano keys that I normally just use in Blender, export them to the web. Exported because it's exported via the plugin. So basically you animate it using my MIDI plugin. You can export the GLTF file and you just get this like out of the box. But then the stuff happening in the back, that's actually me going and like taking a MIDI file, reading it, generating the notes and animating them manually, and then syncing it to the 3JS animation here that's happening. A lot of cool stuff there. I could take a peek at the code if you wanted, but that's not the masthead because we want to go into the piano scene. And you can see here that it's basically just a component that we lazy load because we have to load it dynamically because it's like canvas and stuff like that. We have some lights. We have our piano keys that are animated and rotating. I can head over here and you can see that it's basically just a piano key component that I'll show you in a minute that just like wraps all the different piano keys. And in this component, I call it rotate piano keys because that's exactly what it does in a kind of like animation frame cycle. Like once every frame of animation, this basically runs and we'll basically tell it like, hey, look at the current time, do some like funky, like nice little math with it, and rotate the object between kind of like set radius, which we set here, the rotate start, rotate end. And it'll just kind of rotate. And you can see it kind of do that here. Back and forth really slowly. The piano keys is where the magic happens. This is the actual GLTF, GLB mesh that I export from Blender that has the animation data stored inside of it from Blender. And I basically just have to come into here and start the animation by basically just looping through the actions that they give me and playing each of the actions. There's like one action basically, but and yeah, these are all our different piano key components. You can see here that I have piano key components, and you can basically see that I create a wrapper around the mesh itself. And in this wrapper is where all the kind of like nice color changing happens when the key is actually pressed. Normally this would happen inside of the shader level on Blender, but since we're here in 3JS land, we don't have access to the shader graph in Blender, so we have to kind of either make our own shader or kind of do it on the CPU side, which is what I did here. Piano keys, animated, and then the background part, animated notes, you can see it here. I believe this is where the magic happens. I basically have a component called DAW notes, or was it animated notes? Yeah. Animated notes is where the magic happens. Basically, I grab the MIDI file that I synced the animation to in Blender, bring it over here onto the web as well, read the MIDI file, parse the data, go through each of the tracks, grab all the notes, store them inside of a sort of like state store that I have inside of React, and then that is basically sent over to this component called DAW notes. If you don't know, DAW is like the word that they use for digital audio workspace or something like that. Like when you see Fruity Loops, Ableton, that's like the word for that. But yeah, this is basically just this entire thing that you're seeing here, the left side and the right side. And what I do here is I basically grab all the notes from the store that we have. I have an MIDI animation store. We grab the file. I basically go grab all the visible notes that we have, and then I load them up into the internal state. Basically something that like as the time changes, it's constantly inserting and removing notes as they need to be. So you're only getting the notes that are within the range that you're seeing instead of rendering like 1,000 notes or something, and they're all invisible on the side. And yeah, those notes basically get translated to what you're seeing, the kind of like DAW-like little inputs on the left side, and then Blender timeline keyframes on the right side. And that just is basically just a bunch of divs. Like it's just a bunch of divs. But the magic happens with like the animation itself. CSS actually. Like I don't use framer motion or anything too crazy here. We basically just translate the X here using basic CSS transformations, and we use our animated position here. And the position is based off of the time that we're getting, which is like I'm constantly pumping in like the current time, or like the time from the 3JS thingy. And then with that current time, we look at the note time, and that tells us where the note will be positioned. Because if we're at 1 second time and the note is at 2 seconds, we kind of know that the note's going to be in front of it or behind it if it was at 0, like relative timing kind of thing. So using that kind of like math can basically slide the note left and right when we need it based off of the time that's currently happening. It's kind of neat. And same thing on the other side. Same exact thing, just like altered. I do like a little bit of like weird math to like delay it, because like there was some like interesting stuff that was happening when I was like moving it from this side to that side, but nothing too crazy. And then to cover up me not having like a particle system that's constantly like updating from like end to end, you can see here that it plays and then it like fades out and stops and then like resets. And I actually do that kind of on purpose because it gives the user like time to just like chill out. So they're not just like bombarded with notes, and you kind of get the idea like we're playing one song. The components themselves, they actually just fade in, fade out using CSS here. And you can see here we have a fade up animation that happens, and I can just come up here and you can see it's just an opacity, and we just fade things like kind of up. Some stuff going on there. Not the best code, but it works. So I'll take it. But you get the idea. Front page, looking cool. Animations are nice. But the cool stuff is you can actually come to the documentation now. And if you come here, you can see that we have like a full documentation. Basically everything that was in the README file has been kind of translated over here. But I've also kind of tried to take the time to expand upon it where possible and add like more screenshots or more videos or like little thingies or examples, my own work. So you can kind of just see like what I'm talking about. Because when we talk about animation, it's hard when you're like looking at words and you're not actually seeing video or like live things. It's hard with Blender where it's not actually like something I could embed little examples of. It has to be either like pre-rendered video or bust. It's a little tough, but you can come through, check out all the different documentation. I just added this kind of section just recently where I was able to start working with my animation plugin inside of geometry nodes and kind of like taking that animation data of what key is pressed and what key isn't pressed and what kind of fun things can you do with geometry nodes in that. So I give a pretty basic example of just how to control the animation data inside of geometry nodes and one of the basic node groups that I use, as well as an example of spawning particles and doing like a little particle simulation, but with MIDI key presses. So anytime a key is pressed, it spawns particles. So you can see what kind of fun stuff you can get out of that. You can see like if you're interested in how like I exported the animation to the web, I have some instructions on how like I did that here, as well as importing it into like other game engines. If you're interested in maybe bringing like a piano animation into Unreal and you just want something like hard baked, great way to go about it. And yeah, all the example files that we had available in the repo, I have them listed here with some screenshots so you get an idea of like what you're working with, and a showcase section now so you can kind of like see like all the different examples of the plugin in action. This was a really fun little project to put together. It's basically just a little Docusaurus website. I'll be updating it as I go. As you can see, it's a work in progress, but yeah, It was a really fun little project to put together, really quick, simple, and it helps you get started with the plugin and answers like questions and stuff. If you use the documentation and you get a little lost or you got some questions, let me know in the comments what you got lost with or something. I'll help you. What's up? I don't know if you go to my previous videos with like the plugin, you can see like I do customer support for free, basically, because I just want to make this stuff good, you know, and your feedback helps. Let me know. Yeah, check out the plugin. Check out my video. I have like a video where I basically walk through the plugin, show you all the different features, tell you how to download it, all this stuff. Check it out. See you guys next time.